What's up? What's up? What's up?
What's up? How are
How are you?
you?
How are you?
I'm good. How are
You're
you?
good? Is it late
Yes,
for you? 9 o'clock? Ama, that's the beginning of when you start working.
the brain could start working right now. So yes, it is very possible.
You've always told me. How do you always say? Do you always say it so well? You say the stuff that I do between 5 and 8 in the morning, and then between 5 and 8 in the evening. Is that what you say?
Yeah, 5 to 9 in the morning, 5 to 9 in the evening.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
good, good, good.
How
Eve,
have you
Eve speaks
been?
his own. I've been good. I've missed you.
Sana, we need to catch up soon.
I know. Mpaka I had to get you on Wezesha just so I can chat
Ah,
with you.
I know. Eve, how
Yeah,
are you?
Eve. Wow, Mpaka Eve came.
Hi, hi guys. Hi guys. I am here. 9 o'clock on the dot.
I
9 o'clock
know.
on the
Thank
dot.
you so much.
I appreciate you.
And I see Mercy's on. Welcome back. I think you were here last week, so welcome back again. I see Susan. I don't know who Susan is, but welcome, Susan. Sasa Mercy.
Afit Abaria.
Good, 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 good. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today we have Cecilia. Today, you know what? I promised I'm not going to ask you hard questions. I won't. After today's events that I saw the president, I'm wondering whether I should ask you the same things, whether I should be forceful like that with you.
Oh, no, not like that.
Not like that? Okay,
Not
okay.
like that. But we can get to the hard conversation for sure.
Okay, we'll spend maybe give people like 30 seconds before they join. Then, since this is recorded, I'm very happy to start in the interest of time. But otherwise, Eve, what's going on? What made you come through?
I know I've been missing. I've been having double bookings the other night, and
Uh-huh.
then Cecilia is my girl. I couldn't miss her. Cici is my girl. She's all knowledge about money, so I'm here for it.
Okay, okay, okay. So you guys know one another, like you
With
know,
Eve?
yeah,
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Many years.
many years.
Yes.
Okay,
Atlanta is small and big at the same time.
that is true. That is true.
Yes.
All right. So why don't we get started? I have so many things to ask you, so many sort of like brain sharing things that I think you can bring to Wezesha. So I'm really excited. So for those of you who are new or who listen to this recording later, Ichi, that's what people have called me for, I don't know, like 40 years. They've refused to give that name away, so I'll stay with Ichi. But I host Wezesha, and Wezesha is basically, it's just a platform where people can come together and share experiences in the spirit of empowering through shared experiences. So that's really the mission of Wezesha. And so last year we did this session about entrepreneurship versus corporate, and the entrepreneurs came really strong. We had Jane Mukami, we had Gina Darrow, we had Leo Fire, who has above zero. Let's see, who else did we have? Monga Abila, who does Stock Sisterhood, right? And then we had Carl, who's a broker for businesses. And so I think last year, a lot of people got the sense of, if I want to be an entrepreneur, a whole breadth of what entrepreneurs do, how that turns into sort of self-business. And I think maybe next year we'll do something like, how do you go from entrepreneurship to business ownership? Because there's a difference between those two. How do you become your own corporate? So maybe we'll do that. So anyway, one of the feedback I got was, what about corporate? Like, we have something to offer. So this year I was like, corporate strikes back. We've had, Michael Mutua joined us, Shamim joined us, Joyce joined us, and now we have the pleasure of having Cecilia. So welcome to Wezesha. So tell us a little bit about yourself before I start asking the tough questions.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here, Ichi, and thank you for creating this platform for people to share and learn from each other. This is amazing. you're a man of many talents. I've told you that. Corporate is just happens to be one of them. So just to introduce myself, Cecilia Makundi. Um, Also, people who know me from a long time know my middle name, Nzuka, and so they'll call me Nzuka. If you call me Nzuka, I know we know each other from very far, and maybe more closer too. Um, so I'm a mother of three amazing children. I have two young adults in college, and then we have a 9-year-old. I'm a wife to an amazing husband. And then for every day, I am I help companies, Fortune 500 companies, grow their business through technology-enabled solutions. I love what I do. I've been in consulting for a long time, and that has been very fulfilling for me. My background is in finance, and then just figured out a way to be able to blend my finance background with technology, and I felt that started in audit, transitioned into solution package solutions for multinationals, and that has enabled me to be able um, to enjoy a career in corporate. At the same time, as much as we are saying corporate strikes back, at a I'm at a point where I'm an intercession where I think the conversation could be a little bit different.
Yeah.
And as I figure that out, and as I challenge myself, I think that's what I will bring, that challenge, that corporate is amazing, self-employment is amazing. I think we're an amazing group of people. We have worked very hard, and I think there's another level that we should just challenge ourselves to, that we can go to. And I'm always a big dreamer. I That's what my brain just searches for those things. I think it's just a personality trait. And so I'm at that point where I'm looking at what's that next phase looking like for me.
Thank you for that, Nzuka. So it's okay if I call you Nzuka.
Yeah,
You want
yeah.
me to use your government name?
No,
Okay.
Zuka is fine.
What's been interesting over this journey is a lot of people are at that same intersection you're talking about, where it's not this or that, it's how can this help that other thing, right? How can my corporate experience help me as I think about what am I going to do in entrepreneurship, self-employment, or what I like calling being able to build my self-employment into my own corporation, right? Because I think ultimately what we want to be able to do is work for corporate, but that corporate is us, right? And I all the talks we've had with you, that seems to be their desire. So before we even go there, I play this game where I say this or that. Now, for you, I've been trying to think this or that. What would it be? Would it be about food, about travel? What would it be about? So I ran out of things to think about.
Yeah.
So, but I did think of something because I will talk about this later, but I know what you're trying to venture into.
Yep.
And so if you were to give advice, this is you giving advice to someone, okay? So this or that, but you're giving advice to someone. Maybe a younger you, maybe a wiser you, maybe a older you, maybe a more refined you.
Yep.
So just keep that in mind. Okay. So someone comes to you and says, should I rent or should I own a home?
Start by renting.
Start by renting. Okay. And I'm very curious to know why, but we'll come to that. Okay. Rental property or Airbnb?
Rental property.
Okay. Home ownership in the United States or in Kenya?
In the United States.
Okay. You're becoming very highly controversial very early on this.
I know. I know.
I'm just starting to tell you. Okay.
Trust me, it's an evolution for me too.
Okay. And I think this one is probably one that I personally really want to hear buy land or invest in stock?
Where?
Okay. Buy land in the US or invest in stock in the United States stock market?
Stocks.
So if I had 100K lying around somewhere and there's a nice piece of property here, you know, acreage with trees, Uko, North Georgia, you'd say put the 100K in stocks versus buy that land in
Put
the
it in
US.
stocks.
Okay.
Make growth. Go buy the land.
So is that okay? Is that different in Kenya? Because you asked where. So in Kenya, would you buy land or invest in stocks?
Land.
Land. All right. So for those of you who are listening, you're getting this stuff for free because one day Nzuka will come and she wouldn't be this pro bono thing at ET. I'm gonna spend an hour and a half with you. No. She's gonna be charging. So thank you for that.
The good thing is that all these people, we're together. So
We are together.
We're together.
We're okay. Good.
Yes.
Good. All right. So like I said, over this journey, like if I look at the questions I wanted to ask you 4 weeks ago, they've completely changed because of, what people have talked about in regards to corporate versus self-employment. But the one thing is common for a lot of people who are in corporate is this sense of, we'll call it the sense of stability. So you've been working for a really long time. What are your views on that? Corporate gives you the stability that self-employment does not. How would you feel about that?
Yes, corporate gives you that stability. But at the same time, it could be a false sense of stability.
Same on.
So most of us have started, I call myself a kid of the system. You finish college, you get to work, you're taught how to do the work, move through the ranks, you play the game, and you that's how you create your stability. You understand the politics, you understand what you're supposed to do, you know what you basically sit in that box and sit there. But at the same time, what happens is you think this is forever. And I think over time, so as much as there's that stability, you're not in control of that stability in very many ways, because most of these decisions are not in the rooms that you're in. I could be in a room making a decision for somebody who's below me. Somebody above me is making decisions about me. The only thing I could do is make sure that I'm playing by what is expected of me and above, so that, and making the relationship, making sure I have the skills and all that. And so it gives us that sense of stability. And yes, you have paid leaves, you have vacation or PTO or sick leave and all that. What I've also come to find out, when a lot of people in the other world don't rely on one income.
Okay.
So we kind of get, especially as you move up, you get this beautiful, I call it golden handcuffs. They are beautiful. They come with a stature. They come with the prestige of the job. They come with all that, and it's beautiful and it's amazing. But at the same time, you're relying on one thing that if it's taken away from you, and yes, you're told, make sure you have 6 months of expenses, make sure you have, all that, and you can do all that, but that can also go away very fast. Think about right now as we're speaking, there are government federal employees who just have to think about it in a different way. And if you think, where is the most stable job? The government job.
Yeah.
Like, it's a retirement job, basically.
Yeah.
And there are thousands of people who are scratching their heads with, what's the next thing? And the other challenge I've realized is the higher you get up in the ranks, also the more difficult it is to get the right job, because you're not going, it's not like you're doing a regular job and you can go switch and get it quickly. If you're a VP and all that, the roles are very few. So it could take you longer to even get back to that game. At the same time, of course, it depends with your network and all that that you've built. At the same time, for most of us who are in our mid 40s, I'm looking at it and I'm saying we are almost either on the last job, second last job, if you're lucky, third last job. So that means you're in your last years, 10, 15 years of your career. And I don't know if at mid 40, when I ask myself, am I moving to another job to start all over again, to start making friends again, to start building a network? I don't know if I have an appetite for that.
Yeah.
So one thing that for me that I'm challenging myself is, what do I need to do to enjoy the corporate benefits, but also to create an opportunity for myself to be, and for my family, for me to be employment optional. So for me, I'm looking at what do I need? What is that income that would make my home comfortable that I can be employment optional? Meaning I go to work because I enjoy it and I really enjoy my job, not because if that paycheck was taken away from me, I don't know what I have to start making calls immediately to get another job. And that if I pick another job to go to, it's because I want to do it. So, and I think you even go to work with a different mental space when you
Yeah.
know you're covered, you're all that. On the other side, if you look at a lot of people in business, a lot of people who are in self-employment, what I've realized is they don't rely on one income. They have multiple. They try. There's a sense of, and I've opened myself into that space where I see a lot of people in those in that space, and they're doing multiple things. The other thing about corporate is it's like we are boxed to think we are one thing, but we are very many different things.
So this has been very enlightening just hearing, and I want to restate some of what I had or some of the notes I took. One, the notion that you sort of become hyper focused on your career and you slide into that box, right? You slide into that box.
Yeah.
Whereas people who are entrepreneurs, and I see it with Wawa, I see it with a lot of people who are either business owners or have a side hustle, their innovation is, they have so much innovation because they have to. Like
Yeah.
this is survival, so they have to figure it out. And then the other thing that I really enjoyed you saying is employment optional. That's really good, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, to be transparent, I mean, I've been working for so long, I don't know anything else. I don't know anything. So I've already slid in the box.
Yep.
And my options are, okay, you've been laid off. Okay, who do I call for my next job, right?
Yep.
So there's people, though, who are not yet where we are.
Yep.
They are sliding into corporate right now. And, you know, I had an opportunity this past 2 days. I was talking to students in USIU Africa. And I was giving them my career journey. And, you know, a lot of them were really, you know, yeah, I want that. I want that. I want that. And one of the questions they asked me, and I'm going to ask you, is what advice would you give them? Because now they're a totally different generation. They're probably not tied loyalty wise the way we
Yep.
felt we were tied, right? What would you tell those 99% of, you know, a lot of the people here, their kids are in that situation where they're going to start going into corporate. What advice would you give them?
Yeah. So my kids are young adults. So I know they'll be my first two kids. So they will be moving into that space very, very soon. I hire a lot from college. And my advice is always, and even for my kids, is get into corporate, get that job. There is a lot to learn out of corporate, how systems work, how structure works, how you behave, what work ethics looks like. So there's always that. But always have a goal. Know what you want to get out of this. Find people who can guide you at your level to be able to get where you want to go. And the good thing about the kids of today, they speak their mind, and they are very open about what they're looking for. So that is not an issue for them. So get corporate, but know what you want to get out of corporate. But always keep the creator mentality on.
Okay.
Like when I think about my kids, I'm like, why are you not running a YouTube channel? Why are you not running? Why are you not sharing on social media what you do, or whatever you're interested in? How do you create your passion or hobby? Share with the world. Share something that is passion is you love, that you can share to the world, because that is the new place we are in today. So as much as like I remember when, and my kids have had this from me for a long time. Yeah, you want to be a doctor, think about owning your own clinic. You're a lawyer, think about your own practice. Yes, you could go start at somebody's practice, learn all that, but always have it in your mind that you want to do something. The reason I do that, the reason I push for that, to always keep that creator mind active. And even when you're in corporate, you can be they call it entrepreneur, have that bug in you. Because I think understanding and being able to take on the risk, and understanding the risk of business, is something you get comfortable with over time. And our brains are very good at protecting ourselves from risk and discomfort. But if you train your brain to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, the younger you are, the better you are. When you think about all your big shots and all your big 1%, what they've done is, if you listen to their stories, the Mark Cubans, the who, they started something at 14. They were selling lemonade stand. You learn something from there. They move from there, they're selling newspaper, they are selling. So there is a skill to be learned there, that if you keep it alive, it will grow into something. Because most of us grew up from families where we didn't see business.
Yeah.
If you've grown seeing business, you kind of get comfortable with that. And because we've not provided those environments where our kids know what business looks like, it's to encourage them to stay active in their brain, to think about, what can I do? Yes, I'm in school, but what else can I be doing? I'm in corporate. What else can I be growing on the side for myself? Because we are a diverse people, and we are not made of one thing. You're just not an engineer. You're more than an engineer. You're an accountant, but you could be a good cook. You could be a good you're a good photographer. And what can that lead for you? And how can you enjoy all those things outside of corporate while still being very great at corporate and learning from corporate?
I don't even want to write anymore. I'll just let Gemini transcribe for me, because you've dropped a couple of things that frankly I'd never thought of, right? The notion of keeping that creator mindset, because sometimes that creator mindset gets stifled by us corporate and instructions, and again, thinking within that box, right, for the benefit of a company. But then also, that you said, if you want to be a doctor, think about owning a practice. That is mind-blowing, right? Because for a lot of us, and I'm curious if it's a cultural thing, or maybe there's this they've done a lot of research on what makes people entrepreneurs, like what are those things that make people entrepreneurs. And some of the things they say is, for some people, it's an opportunity comes, they take advantage of the opportunity, thus their business starts. There's some where it's resources, right? You have money, you just have money, you don't know what to do, and then you start a business, things like that. And then there's obviously sort of what is the need out there, and because there's a need out there, you fulfill that need, right? So opportunity, resources, need. But there's one that they call the anthropological, right? And that's based on, okay, is there something either in, I wouldn't call it genetic makeup, but there's a makeup that makes you more lean more towards entrepreneurship versus being corporate. So when I'm trying to, in my mind, figure out why is it that a lot of us, and maybe I'm generalizing here, but from all the people I've spoken to, this seems to be true. For a lot of us, corporate is it, not corporate to own something similar to the corporation that I've been in. Why do you think that is?
I think we are a product of our environment. Yeah, that there are people who innately have it, but on average, I believe we're a product of our environments.
Okay.
I tend to lean very heavily on real estate because that's all I saw my dad do. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, um, so, for example, if you look at a kid who has come from a family that does business, in a lot of this, you'll see it with Asians, like even Indians.
Yeah.
They will take their kids to school, but that kid is coming back to run the business.
Yeah.
And so, and so you've seen it. You know your parents have done it, or your family has done it. So it's very easy. My parents, my dad was an accountant, my mom was a teacher. Very easy. Went into accounting school, went to Strat, did accounting, because that's what I saw that was successful. If I go back even to my parents and tell them I'm leaving corporate to go do business, they'll be like, how can you leave that great, amazing job you have? Because also, if you look at their lineage, they've not seen somebody do an amazing business. And most people would ask you, why would you leave that corporate job, for example, if that was a decision? It's because of what we've seen. A lot of us, we are just a product of our environment. And so you must be willing to go against the odds or push the risk appetite and be able to cross over to the other side, because none of them is easy. Whether you're trying to go up corporate ladder, it's more structured, but it's not necessarily easy. Now, when you're doing business, you are juggling with a lot of things, and so it requires a different tenacity to be able to overcome that. But if you're able to learn that early on, I think it's unstoppable because the limit is endless.
So Nzuka, you are supposed to come here
Yeah.
with Corporate Strikes Back.
Yes,
But
I am.
I see the pendulum swinging like
It's,
Usuko, you know. So and I think that, and I think what I'm hearing and what we've had over the last few weeks, it's starting to sound again that it's not one or the other, it's how one feeds to the next, right?
yeah.
And so you have gotten to a stage where you realize the limitations, the things that hold you back in corporate, and you also see the possibilities if you were to be self-employed. Now, I'm going to remove all of that from you, and then
Okay.
I'll take you back to now. And frankly, you know, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Not all corporate jobs are the same. You know, arguably, you're doing well. So yeah, you can think like that. You know, Joyce just last week was talking about Maslow's, you know, hierarchy, and you know, there's all these steps that suddenly get you to self-actualization, right?
Yeah.
The first step being that you have to take care of your basic needs.
Yeah.
There's some people out there who are still taking care of their basic needs. They're in a job literally to take care of their basic needs. They don't have any space in their head to say, yeah, you know, now I can have a creative mind and fantasize about these things. So the message to them about why corporate is where they should be or what they should do in corporate, what would that message be? And maybe it's based on just how you've journeyed through corporate.
So if you're studying and you're trying to figure out the beginning of that, I think just like anything else, focus, get comfortable, understand your corporate landscape maybe structure where you really want to be and what skills you want to learn. What does that look for you? So let's say you're in an organization that you would prefer it to be different, right? Right where you want to go, plan where you want to go, structure where you want to go, find people to advise you where to go and how to go there, because that's the other thing. Whether it's in business or in corporate, the one thing that is very clear is you need to have, I know in corporate you call it your board of members, yeah. So your advisors, your sponsors, and you'd be very surprised how many people are out there willing to help you. Sometimes you just need to ask, and you will get your people. You will get people who believe in you. So if you're starting, structure what that corporate looks for you, what you want it to look like, and go and work on those things, whether it's a skill that you need to get, whether it's a mentor, it's a position, it's a company. Do that. And then same thing on the other side too. You're doing business, find your people, because you will always have people in any of these things. Find your people, have a plan. You want to grow your business, find that plan and find the people that will help you to go there. The one thing that is very clear to me is walking alone is too costly. Find, in whatever you're doing, corporate, business, walking alone is too lonely, too costly. Find the people that will help you, because there is nothing you're trying to do that is new here. There are people who know systems. There are people who know in the industry you're in. There are people either who are trying to figure it just like you, or they've already done it. And so you share that, you find partners, you find investors who would make the load easy. And I think that's something we're not very keen at.
Yeah.
We're not good at it. We like going alone. But I've realized when you have that community and people, and most of the times actually we go asking the wrong people. I want to go do business on something, and I'm asking people who don't have that vision anywhere. If the vision is yours, go find people who are doing exactly what you need to do and what you want to do. It's a coach, it's a mentor, it's a sponsor, whatever that looks like, and get that help.
That is such good advice. And I'm going to be controversial for a second, because I've said this in some circles, with, especially when talking to students in Kenya.
Yeah.
I think Kenyans, as we grew up, we have this thing of thinking we know a lot. And let me make sure I contextualize what I mean by that.
Yeah.
I've come to find out that, especially in corporate in the US, people are very vulnerable, to your point, asking for help, asking for feedback, very grounded on what your job means and execution, right? Whereas all my years working in Kenya, and even in my interaction with Kenyans, and my personal experience is, it's very difficult for me to receive feedback. Until I'm being told there's something I'm not doing well, I'm like, Allah, no.
Yeah.
They must be, something personal. It's very difficult. And whenever I found success is when I opened myself up to actually filter the feedback and say, this feedback is not about you, Ichi. It's about the work that you're doing and how it can be better. And so I think it's something that just came from who we are. We're very proud people in Kenya. You won't ask for help. There's power dynamics when it comes to seeking help. And it's very difficult to make that shift and open yourself up and be vulnerable and say, I actually could use someone to help me. Actually, Nzuka, I'm trying to do this. I don't know if I'm doing it right. What do you think?
Yep.
It's very difficult for us to get there. So in principle, I agree with what you're saying. And my question then is, thinking about all these people here, Alice, Peter, Mercy, Susan, Eve, myself, how do we get over that hump of saying, you know what, why am I reinventing this wheel that's already been built? Like, where are those spaces where we can be like that?
So I think the question is also removing the beliefs we have that make us behave the way we behave. Because culturally, of course, we're told not to share, we're told not to, and as much as there's truth in that, there's also, where do you cut the line to go look for help? So so for me, it's as simple as, what is my goal? I don't want to spend 7 years trying to figure out something. I don't want to spend 20 years trying to figure something. People have already figured this thing out. People are willing to share. If I want to go into real estate, there's somebody who's charging to coach me to avoid the 50 mistakes that I could make. So do I want to keep quiet and just sit by myself and try and figure this out? Or do I go pay a coach who's done this? I can see they've done it. They can prove to me they've done it. Go learn from them. In the process, I'm in a community where, oh, you're looking for a loan? This is how you do it. And actually, there are levels to these games, all of them. Yeah. While you're busy figuring out how a bank will give you loan, people are exchanging money. Like, you have an idea, here's this property, yeah, people just come. So we are caught up in not being in those rooms and not sharing, while we're trying to figure out, how can I go to the bank? How is my credit? There are people who are making these moves without even looking at their credit. And so when you get into those spaces, and when you think about, how do I get into any space? We are in a technology open environment. If you go to Facebook right now and just say, I'm in cosmetics and I'm looking for a group, you will find one. If you go to Instagram and say, I am selling, I'm in transportation, you will find a group. And as you filter through that, because of your interest, you will find a group that resonates with you. And it will, now, instead of being a 5-year journey, it could easily be a 2-year journey of reduced errors, less cost. In fact, every time we try to do things on our own, we actually end up costing ourselves a lot more than we would have if we went and found people who've already done this. And the other thing is, at the top, people are willing to share a lot because they are operating with a very different mindset. Their mindset is, there's plenty, we can all share this, it is enough for everybody, and that's how they operate. At the bottom is where we're competing. It's where I'm holding my idea together. It's where I don't want to share with you what I'm doing. It's just, we just think it's scarce. So it's a mindset shift.
There's different levels.
There are different levels for sure.
At the top, people are willing to share. They have nothing to lose.
They have nothing to lose.
At the bottom, it's hustler. It's hustler economy.
Yep.
We're competing. And so every time you're asking me a question, I'm like, okay.
You want to copy my idea?
You want to copy my idea, right? The cost of not asking is so much higher than the cost of asking.
Yep.
Reduced errors, there's less cost, there's less mistakes, probably less frustration.
Yep.
So I think what I'm hearing from you is, you have, and you said it, you have to have that mindset shift of, okay, what is my goal? What do I need to achieve that goal? Who are the people that can help me? And this is true in corporate as well. And I wish Joyce was here because she says it so well. She said, we had this thing, we had a session with a technology group in Kenya a few months ago. And she told them, you have to know the difference between a friend, a mentor, and a sponsor.
Yeah.
And so in corporate, she said, of course, you're going to get frustrated. You want the water cooler conversations, have those with your friend.
Yep.
Right? If you want guidance on what do I do, find a mentor, and find the mentor that's right for you and with whom you have a relationship with. Don't go telling the mentor about the accident you had and how your hair was. No, tell your friend that. Filter
Yeah.
that with your friend. The mentor is strictly about guidance. And then the sponsor is about how do I get to my goal and can you help me even when I'm not there behind closed doors? Even if it's 4 times a year, that sponsor has your back and is not going to necessarily guide you, but is the one who knows that, okay, this person is interested in getting here. How can I help them? And so it sounds like that mirrors what you're saying over here, because there's someone out there at that high level who, for whatever reason, maybe altruistic reason or whatever, is vested in your success.
Yeah.
They really are vested in your success. But we're not appreciating that that exists and that is something we can leverage. And so I'll tell you a story that maybe you know, maybe you don't know. I met you. I mean, we obviously we've known one another a while, but there's two particular conversations that we had.
Yeah.
One of them was, I think can we say we were drinking? Okay, we were drinking. Yeah,
Yeah.
we were drinking. We
Yeah.
were drinking, right? I think it was Christmas or New Year's, whatever. And I remember you saying something. You're trying all these things, and you are talking about all these things you're trying. But what I got from that conversation was that you were not scared of making mistakes, just doing something. Instead of not doing it, trying to perfect it, it's, oh, I did this, I made a mistake. Okay, right? Move on. Now you know you made a mistake, do something better. So that's one. The second was probably, I think, last year, Feb or March, where you pulled me aside and you said, okay, this Wezesha things, like, there's something here. What are you trying to get? And I was like, I don't know. And then you said, there's stories here.
Yeah.
Do you remember saying that? You
Yes.
said, there's stories here. And I thought I couldn't get, because sometimes you're so muddled in what you're thinking. But out of that came this notion that it's not my story. Because I can talk forever. Like,
Yeah.
it's not my story, it's these stories.
Yeah.
Because these stories are the ones that inform, and these stories are the ones that then create that environment where someone says, wow, I was thinking I wanted to do that. Now Nzuka has shared her experience. Boom, I got it, right? So it's that same theme of being able to get into a space where you can share and learn, and also in some ways get inspired. And what Wezesha is all about is, I always say there's no direct translation for Wezesha. Some people will say empowerment, enable, put something, make, whatever it is, but someone comes out knowing better. And I'm hearing from this last segment you talked, it's the same thing in corporate. Find those shared spaces.
Yeah.
Find those people who want to tell the stories. Find those people who are okay with saying, I made a mistake, but hey, now I'm better for it, right? When we were talking with Joyce last week, she talked about this thing called the juice. She said, you have to have the juice. And I asked her, what is the juice? And she said, the juice is a function, I wouldn't say it as well as she said, but what I noted was the juice is a function of three things: developing core skills, building your social capital, which you call like your network, and then cultivating emotional intelligence, the awareness of how to do things. What do you think about that? Do you think, would those be things that you would tell your younger you as well, and things that you practice as well in corporate?
Yeah, I think those resonate very comfortably. I think they switch depending on where you are. So at the bottom of the org chart, your core skills matter. As you move up, your core skills don't really, their return on investment really diminishes, and now it's your social capital, your network that really builds you up, and that actually social capital has no diminishing return. Yeah,
Say that again, social capital.
the social capital, which is something like even for me, I struggle with. It's not something I'm great
Yeah.
at, but I know social capital has no diminishing return. Skills have got a diminishing return, and unfortunately, I feel like we come from a culture of let me put my head down, let me work, see that I'm great, and promote me, or see how hard I'm working and promote me. And the more you stay in corporate, I think you realize, yeah, there are a lot of people with no much core skills, but they're able to move up very well. And even when I talk to my kids, I tell them communication and presentation,
Yeah.
have it at the top of your list. Networking at the top of your list. You will have somebody with those two things managing people with a lot of skills. Be quick on your decision making, know how to organize people, know how to bring out, I remember I asked one of the partners, how did you become a partner in 12 years from an analyst? And he said, you don't have to know the solution. You need to know how to bring people together to figure
Yeah.
out the solution.
Yeah.
And those are the people who go up. So I agree with her, but at the bottom, core skills matter. You need to show that you have a skill, you're able to execute, you're able to action. That's how you build your name as you move up. And if you can be like, if you're young now, a young adult, making sure that communication, presentation, how you write your emails, those are top notch. If you're given a deck, or if you're told to prep a deck, that's something you can do at the sleep. And being able to present that, trust me, those leaders want those people
Yeah.
with them. Because if I know you can pull up a deck, present it, I'm not scared if I take you to the CSIT that your presentation, your language is proper, you will always be pulled up. And there's no leader that walks alone. You walk with your team.
Yeah.
So you want that team. So I agree with her. Emotional intelligence is about your awareness, making sure that you don't have an outburst. You know what is the right conversation to have at what time.
Yeah.
And you cultivate that as you grow up in the corporate ladder, and not just corporate, even in your own business.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just something we all have to have and grow and cultivate. But social capital is something that I did not even understand the magnitude,
Mm.
but it is. There are some roles you cannot get unless people know you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting you say that. So, in terms of social capital, and I think, Joyce said it last week, and I've been in situations where layoffs are pending, org changes are happening, and you're sitting there. I've been on both sides. On one side, sitting there wondering, holy crap, what's going to happen to me? And on the other side, being a decision maker, saying, okay, what do we need to do? Who's in that like pool that we need, right? And so knowing that you have people who have your back because you've created such a good social capital base, a humongous network where someone will say, yeah, but I could use Ichi here. And that's very interesting because that's happened several times, again, on both sides, where, yeah, his name is on the list or whatever, but no, I could use him here. I could use him there. I could use him there, because they know that you may not have that core skill at that point in time, but that's something you can develop. So I really like that. The thing I want to not necessarily challenge you on, but maybe ask your advice on. So I've been at Google, 7 years, and it's been a wonderful experience for me because we move around like we feel.
Yeah.
No, not enough. No, I don't want to say it like that because not everyone has that. To your point, all those things that allow them to move around like that. So I want to make it clear. But it was different from the 17 years I worked at Verizon. At Verizon, it was either someone dies or resigns or is moved away before you promote, right? But I found myself in a certain position in Verizon, and I want to share this with you, Nzuka, was I was always the go-to person. Oh, something needs to be fixed. Ichi, go fix it. We need to reduce expenses by 10, 15%, give it to Ichi, right? So I built a reputation.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it for many years because I was always the go-to person. Then one time, my VP moved on, and I was having lunch with her, and I said, "Yeah, I've been given this project." And she said, "Yeah, you know what? You're always such a good fixer." And for the first time, it struck me that being a good fixer was not, well, that wasn't what I wanted for my career. You know what I mean? So I had put myself over several years in a place where I was that person that the leader walks with, the chief of staff, so to
Yeah.
speak. But I was never the leader. You get what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep.
And I reflected on it a long time, and I kept asking, what did I do wrong? Why wasn't I I spent a lot of time reflecting, and a lot of the things you said came to mind. One, have I been vocal about what I want?
Mhm.
Have I demonstrated that I can do all these other things? And so years later, when an opportunity came at Google, and I remember the manager saying, oh, my VP, he was like, yeah, you could do this. You could be chief of staff. And I remember it was very difficult for me to
Yeah.
say that. And I said, no, I don't want to be the chief of staff. I want to be the global lead.
Yeah.
And it took so, like Zuka, you can't imagine.
Out of body experience.
Yeah, out of body experience. Am I going to be fired? You're sweating, your armpits, everything. Because you've never said that. You've always waited for someone to put you in the role. And to be honest, it was always comfortable because, I mean, it's hard starting a new role, but it was comfortable that someone trusts you enough to put you there for your good. But now you're the one saying, no, boss, I don't want to be the chief of staff, the deputy. I want to be the main guy. Why was it so difficult for me to do that?
Because of our cultural upbringing. We don't know how to ask. We know how to work, see me, and then please, boss, pull me up as you see fit.
As you see fit.
As you see fit. But like if you look at Americans, they know how to boost their resume. You hear somebody talking, you're like, and I know we always even have an issue with when somebody is in a meeting and talking too much and we know they don't know technically, and we feel like we want them to, if you're a leader, you should know everything technically. But no. We need to be very clear in what we want, ask for exactly what we want, understand. And in consulting, that is a culture that is very encouraged.
Okay.
Like, set your goals, speak to the people that you need to speak to them for them to know. And even my mentees, that's what, make sure everybody in your lineage knows what you want, but you're still performing the role you have at its best. But everybody is aware, because now everybody is and knows I am doing this role perfectly, but I have a goal and I have something else I want. And so in every meeting you're meeting with them, you're like, yes, I'm doing what I'm but I need this next thing. So you're putting it in them so that as they are speaking and as they're talking wherever they are, they remember that you said you wanted something. So you're not sitting there as a comfortable person. And it's very hard for us, very, very hard for us, unless you just have it in you. We were trained to be quiet, wait for me to tell you the next thing to do. And so that's why but Americans do this very comfortably.
Yeah.
They say exactly what they want. And I remember there's a time I had a situation with my daughter when she started high school. And I told my boss, I'm not able to travel. I can't do the weekly travel. I would need to work from home and all that. And he was giving me a hard time. Um, and then I applied for an internal role so that I don't have to travel at all. And I didn't get the internal role. But when I didn't get the internal role, there's a lady, a partner, who called me and asked me, Cecilia, I saw you had applied for this internal role, but you did not get it. But I want to understand why you were looking for an internal role. And so I explained to them why I was looking for an internal role. So I told him exactly what was going on in my family. And he's like, do you know you also have an option to quit? Like, like it's like I didn't even give myself permission. But he's like, okay, so you're doing well in your role. I can see, your snapshot. We call them snapshot. He has all the good things to say about you. So I'm gonna put a stop travel for you because you have options. You could perform this role comfortably from where you are at home, taking care of your personal issue, or you could quit. And you always have to know that that's an option. And I'm here dying. I've
You
not
can
even
quit.
given myself that option.
Wow. But so, I'm, ay, ay, ay. Okay. Let me think about how to frame this question.
Yeah.
Maybe the question is, what does it take to be corporate optional to where you can actually, you feel that inside you, your core skills, everything, you feel like you can have that conversation and come out as a winner in that conversation, right? So Eva over here trains young children who are going to college, right? And shows them the ropes to where when they go to college, it's a major step, and they have all these things that are going to help them be successful in college, right? I think I'm asking you the same thing for someone in corporate. How do you tell someone? Because again, I want to be transparent that people like me and you, maybe some people here are saying, yeah, you guys, Yauko on the, what do you call that corner office.
Yeah.
Forget that not everyone can just go and say, I quit, or not everyone has that option. But then maybe we need to aspire to be in that position where, okay, if I can't do this, then I'm sorry, I'm going to have to leave, right? So what do we have to develop mindset wise, and then I wouldn't say skill wise, but let's say corporate wise, mindset wise, and corporate wise to get to that point.
So I really don't think it matters where you are in corporate, whether you're studying, whether you're at the top level, because you'd be very surprised that the person at the bottom has less to lose than the person at the top.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts. Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
can
yeah.
leave at the
That
bottom
is
and
true.
go find
Yeah,
something else. And right now, if the life you set for yourself is very dependent on this corporate.
yeah.
So that's why being corporate optional for anybody at any point is going to be very interesting for us to figure out. And I was listening to somebody, and this is what they said. You need to be in a position where you can have a break glass in case of emergency pivot. Corporate, like for me, I know I do 2,000 hours a year of client service. I know that because I build that. That is just client service. I do a lot of sales. I do a lot of pursuits. I do a lot of farm development, people development. So I spend a lot of time. And corporate is amazing because they are getting all that time of you. But I think we have to be very intentional on the side to create a skill, a hobby, something that we can lean on when needed. And I think the only way wherever we are is to be. So let's use Eva as an example. She's in corporate and she has her side business for teaching kids. The more intentional she is about building that business could one day, and not too far, very soon, be able to replace her income. You've become corporate optional because now you have created another income for yourself. So now you're just sitting gravy in case corporate was not to work. You're not in panic. You just pivot and continue with what you were doing, and now you even scale it bigger.
Mhm.
If you're able even to grow this to something bigger, while you're in corporate, the better. Then you can decide whether you want to spend your time in corporate or you want to spend your time in what you love and where your purpose is and what you want to go for. And so I think the system, as I call it, and we think like we are one thing, but we are so many things. And over the years, we have accumulated so much talent, so much skills that are transferable. That we really need to hone these skills into things that we are passionate about, into things that could lend us into the next phase, potential career, next beautiful part of our lives, or they could work together.
Yeah.
But I think we have to be very intentional about that other thing that we are passionate about, we have a purpose for it, and just grow it and be very intentional about it. And that is that is one way to be corporate optional. The other thing, for especially for most of us who are able to have high paying jobs in corporate, and maybe the corporate we are in does not allow us to maybe be able to build something else. It's how do we grow the money that we have, and understanding the system that we are in. For example, I know you asked me, do you invest in the U.S. or in Kenya? If you had asked me this question 4 or 5 years ago, I would have been Kenya. Why? It's comfortable. It's what I know. It's what I do. But now, if you ask me that question, I would have transferred everything that I've invested in Kenya into the US.
Mm.
And the reason is because when you get to understand the system here, the system is made for you. For example, if you look at real estate, the tax code is written for real estate every day, any day. So they're taking advantage of the different tax strategies that are out there to preserve what we have made. Because with business, you remove everything that you have, then you tell them I'm left with this balance, and then they tax you. With corporate, we don't even wait, we're just taxed. Yeah. But how do we educate ourselves on the financial level to understand how to take advantage of the different tax strategies that are out there? And I'm telling you, this game is played at a very different level. It's so different that you're like, where have I been? What is going on? I have been working for this, thinking I'm making it, thinking I'm doing well, until you realize you've been doing child play.
You know, I want to share something here.
Okay.
I said it last week, but I'll say it because I know where you've come from.
Yeah.
So over here is let me unpin this. I'm going to unpin you for a second so that you can see this. So look at the date up here, 4th February 1992.
Yep.
The date down here, 21st January 1992. That was 33 years ago.
Yep.
That was my first job.
Okay.
My first job right after high school. I wasn't even 18 yet.
Yep.
Walked across from Strathmore High School to college, asked McPhee and Sevilla
Yep.
if I could get a job, and they gave me a job, base salary 1,700 with house allowance. I don't even know what that is.
Yep.
But also the benefits were schooling, so I was able to do computer IDPM at that time. But so you're telling me who for literally, I think the only time I haven't worked in the last 33 years was when we were in Campo for, I don't even know what a year constituted, like 6 months or 7 months in 93 when I was doing BCom. That's the only time in my life when I haven't worked. Every time since then, after that, I've been working. So I'm in this system.
Yep.
I'm
You and
in
me.
like through it.
You and me.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Through and through. And so I wanted to share that because I think a lot of people can relate to the fact that it's very nice to hear you talk about these possibilities. But sometimes we feel we're in so deep that maybe the possibility of transitioning has to be after, but not during the course of the work that we're doing. How can I get out of that? I don't know, that brain. What do I need to do?
I think I think we like for me, maybe I can use myself. It's starting to be curious. It's starting to be, we get comfortable, and we all do. You know, you have the big house, you have the big car. Corporate affords us to do that, yeah. But then I look and I say, okay, what am I looking for? What is my goal? What does my success look like? My success, I want it to be freedom of time, freedom of location, freedom of money. I almost at the point where, and I have a friend of mine who said this and it's resonated with me. I don't even want a budget. Really don't. I want to be able, and what allows me to think like that is, guys, we are very smart, and we've accumulated a lot of experience and a lot of skills. And one thing that is very apparent, like for example, when hey Susan, when I go to a lot of the business world, whether it's real estate, people running their own businesses, the one thing that became very clear, they have a lot of money, but I'm the most educated.
Mm.
And I'm like, what? I have the least money, most educated, and that is not their story. Their story is, I figure this out, I go, I create opportunities, I grow, I have this businesses, I have this, and that's how this is how we preserve our money, this is how we protect our money. The conversation is almost mind blowing. While I'm here, I can run 100 million budget. I know how to do that. So they're like, so why are you not doing this? They're actually confused. How do you have all this knowledge and you're not doing this?
I'll say it again, Zuka. I think you are the wrong person for these sessions. These sessions were called Wezesha Corporate Strikes Back, right? No, but
It's understanding where we are, and
yeah,
corporate is good. How do we use corporate? Start
yeah.
corporate. Corporate is good. I would tell my kids, go to corporate, do that, but also the creator mentality, the shift of understanding how money works, how business works, how the question, and somebody asked me, do you want to be a creator or do you want to be a contributor? And so a creator is creating opportunities for other people, doing starting a business, whether it's a startup, it's how to put deals together. A contributor is what most of us do. We go and contribute to our 401k, and let somebody else determine our returns. And do you know what the 401k founder, the Vanguard founder said? How about having everybody contribute 100% of capital, take 100% of risk, and 33%? While the people who did not contribute did not take the risk because they didn't put their money, and 66%. That's the foundation of 401k.
Yo, what did I tell you? I told you you're getting
You have to
gems
repeat
for
that.
free
Please
today.
repeat.
You're getting gems for free today. One day it's gonna cost you. Repeat that and with examples.
So when Vanguard, I'm forgetting his name, when he created that, what he said is it's a system where people contribute 100%. So me and you are contributing.
Yeah.
Me and you are taking a risk on our money. When the stock market goes down, who's getting affected? Me and you.
Yeah.
How much return do you make out of that? At best, they say 33%. So who's making 67%?
Yeah. Where's that money? Like who's making that, right?
Yeah. So they've just created a system and a process for you to contribute in, take the risk, and make the least return. People in business, on average, don't contribute to 401k. They create their own solo 401k.
Yeah.
And what it allows them to do is very different from what people in corporate we can do. And what are they able to do? If you have your own self-directed 401k, you can invest in whatever you want to invest in. Pull back the returns at no tax. Push back the returns, receive them back at no tax. Go study how Mitt Romney built a 46,000 401k to 100 million. Or Peter Thiel, how he created 2 million to 5 billion. The game is so different. You go into a room, you're like, where have I been? Most of us, like for example, what are you? I don't know if you contributed to your 401k in AT&T or something. What did you do with that after you left AT&T? That should have rolled on to your self-directed IRA, and you should be able to invest it as you please. That's how most people are able to invest in real estate. Right now, there's a big boom about investing in oil and gas funds. So it's a couple of things. We know how we have a way to create money, whether it's corporate, self-employed. I think we're at an inflection where people are going to start growing true business and become business owners and move to the other side of being true investors. So we are at that point where we I believe we're transitioning, and it's a beautiful place where we'll be transitioning to. But we really also need to understand how to grow, keep that money and protect it, which is through those tax strategies that these people know and play, and it's legal and everything. We also need to be in a space where we can understand. For example, if you really look at a Mitt Romney or a Pete Thiel, they also form friendships where people are very vested in creating things. So for example, if you tell me, Wezesha, you're growing Wezesha, you need capital, and we come and invest in Wezesha, and we are, we are investors in Wezesha, and Wezesha becomes this big thing, and you're returning money for us, money to us. That's how these people do. They are friends who are doing business. I have growing real estate business here. You come invest. I'm friends who make money together. So let's get away from the idea of individual, and it's something we have to learn. It's not something that it's simple for us, but it's something I think as we grow as a people, it's something, and that's how these people are able to grow. They just have friends who make, they're talking deals every day.
Yeah, I'm looking here because there's something I want to share with you that Monga shared with us a while back. It was a like a circle that talked through here. Actually, I think it's here. Eve,
And
why don't you ask your question while I look for this?
Oh, it wasn't a question. I was just gonna add when she mentioned about that whole friendship, and talking about Peter Thiel. That's why they started the PayPal mafia,
Yep.
and it's all those members that went on to do great things. Well, I don't know if it's great now, but they built all those big companies. So
Yep.
yeah, when you talk about the people you surround yourself with and people you borrow ideas from or you learn from, or you're talking about being a sponsor to, or stuff like that, that's really the PayPal mafia. If you don't know about it, you can Google it and read up on it. And it's literally the blueprint of how to form those kinds of relationships.
Yeah. And when these people really say, they talk about, oh, I made 100 million, or you, like, I think when Mitt Romney was running for president, people like, he has not paid taxes 10%. This is what it is. They are not investing from them, they're investing through a 401k. And there are rules and regulations on how you get all the profit back, and they're able to keep all that money, go invest it out again, bring it back. All that is something that we can be able to do.
Yeah, I think so. So this is something that Monga shared that I thought was pretty interesting. It's the whole sort of cycle of, I'll use this one on the right, where you have a quadrant where you have a job, time is money, you have no leverage, right?
Yeah.
Then a lot of us aspire to be self-employed. You own a job, time is equal money, but you still have no leverage, right? Then you go to being a business owner. You own a system, right? You don't have to be there for that system to work. And you're leveraging the power of people to bring in money. And that's sort of even another level. But you're even talking about this other level where, you know what? We talked about it, entrepreneurship, because I have so much money. I just need to give Cecilia 20K or Eve something else, and just let that money grow. And I think for a lot of us, and I'm hopeful, maybe this is, I'm hopeful that the next generation, because remember, we're the first generation, so we're still, at first, we just had to make it work in Stato.
Oh, yes.
We just had to make it work.
Yep.
Now we're at the age where we're having these conversations and people are saying, why? I had this conversation with a young guy yesterday or the day before yesterday. He's amazing. I have to introduce you to him. I wouldn't mention his name because maybe he doesn't want his name mentioned, but I asked him about his journey because he's doing amazing things as an investor at a very young age. And I asked him, how do you think like that? He's a Kenyan. How do you think like that? Because I'm always curious. In research, we want to know, like, what is behind that thought? And he described, I went to college, I finished college, then I was working here making XX dollars an hour, and I was very happy. And then I saw this guy who's making so much more than I am. but he's not happy. And I'm like, how can you be making so much tune, working here, but you're not happy? And so that sort of like changed, that was the beginning of changing his model that, wow, this person who I think I want to be like this person in corporate is not feeling fulfilled. And then he saw this other person who was feeling fulfilled by just doing things that he wants to do. And I think it goes back to, if you remove your blinders about corporate, then suddenly everything opens up to you and all these opportunities come grasping at you. And for most of
Yeah,
us,
I can tell you
we're
for
not ready or something's going on there.
yeah, I can tell you like if maybe if you asked me this question 5 years ago, I would have been so 4 5 years ago. I think COVID did something to me. I would have been gang ho, partner, name it all, name it all. I have a plan and I know how that plan is going to be executed. But I think there are things when you see you cannot unsee. There are things when you
You
see.
took a bite of the apple. You took the
I
bite of the
took a
apple.
bite and you cannot unsee. And that is for myself and for my family and for my children, it is something I have to take a shot at.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to take a shot. It's something I'm willing to go the miles it takes, because one, it, it's a mindset. That world is a mindset if you get it. I met some two young Kenyans who went to college, do e-commerce. If you talk to those kids about how much they make, when you see them in rooms talking to grown-ups, you're like, you just did 5 million last year. They now they have a capital to go in and invest in big time real estate. They are talking in big rooms with grown-ups, and that kid, by the time they grow, because it just feeds on itself, yeah?
Yeah.
As you go, the network you build, the open spaces you get, it's just so different. And it allows you to go chase the dreams you want and everything. And also at the same time, not everybody is interested in that, and that's fine. There are people who are very happy doing corporate, and that's also perfectly fine. There are people who don't want to fit in the box of corporate, but I think there are things, whether you're in corporate or self-employed, if you see, it's hard to unsee. Very hard to unsee.
You know, we can talk forever, but
Yep.
I know we're coming upon time, and I'm
Yeah.
sure people have questions. So before I open it up for questions, I want to say something that Joyce said last week, and maybe this is how I would want to wrap this up. She said, you have to sit down and write, what does a rich life mean to you? What does a rich life mean to you? And a rich life could mean in terms of, monetary wealth. It could be in fulfillment. It could be in purpose. It could be in the things that you do. But you have to write it down. So beyond just money, what does the rich life mean to you? Because that's going to guide your decisions and overall happiness. And I think you said it at the beginning. You said, what is that goal? Like you have to have it, write it down, manifest in it. I think it's difficult for a lot of us to define that goal. And I'm hoping that's what Wezesha does, is to help you gain clarity or confirmation, or even, I think the better word is validation, that that goal of yours can happen. So before I open it up, I want you to give us like 2 minutes of, where you're at in terms of this journey and, the next steps that you're doing, and then also how we can support you.
So yeah, thank you so much for this time. So still in corporate, wake up and perform it as I can, because that's my, I think Eva is here. She called it investment for your side hustle.
That's
It's
the investment for your side
for my
hustle.
side hustle. I need and you realize there are a lot of intangibles that corporate gives you as you're transitioning. For example, when you put your bio together and somebody sees what you've been doing, it helps. Whether you're going to do real estate, whether you're going to be doing business, the minute you put your bio, the minute you go present yourself, those are soft things. If I go look for a loan or something, my income supports it is my guarantee too. So there are beautiful things about corporate that we could use to transition, and corporate is beautiful. So in itself, and I hope everybody is able to find. I'm very happy with the corporate that I am in. But as I say, there are some things once you learn them, it's very hard to unsee, and I'm just at that point. And as I transition and I can comfortably blend this with my corporate real estate investing. I was pushing a lot of education about last year, but the market was very difficult and needed a little bit of adjustment. And so I took some time back to really dial in on what is ideal, what looks good, educating myself. I'm a student of this life, and just putting myself in the spaces to continuously learn and to understand what are the ropes that we need to pull. I think the market is shifting a little bit. And so I think, again, being prepared for the opportunity is the right way for all of us. So stay tuned. We are still on that journey as we look at investment properties. I think real estate is something that everybody needs to have in their portfolio in this country, whichever way you look at it, whether you want to be a passive investor, whether you want to be an active investor. The reason is because the tax code is written with real estate. That's why everybody gets real estate. So, and the reason we want to get real estate is because of the benefits, because you either spend the money or give it away. And we want to keep it for ourselves as much as possible. And so if that is something, I think it is beneficial for all of us. And there are very many different ways to benefit out of real estate. And the people who get it and know the value of it. So as a solo, as a corporate person, as you buy stocks, as you buy, think about diversifying into real estate just for the benefits of it. Is it always glory and merry? Not really, but I think it's worth taking, adding it to your portfolio. So I will be coming to you in the future with deals. What I can promise you is I wouldn't bring just any deal to you. I would bring a well-vetted deal, and that's why I've not rushed to just bring a deal. You are family. We work very hard for every penny. We need to think through our deals. We need to make sure that we manage the risk, and it's a calculated risk. But I think we are at a point where we are prepared for a good deal, and that's what we are spending time in the background doing, looking for a good deal to bring to family. Because we are a family. If I meet Eve on the streets, I don't want to be running. I want to be able, we can sit down and enjoy coffee together because we're doing business together and we are invested together. We know where we are heading together. And so stay tuned. I think that's what I would say for now. We'll be coming back to the group with deals that make sense and that we've vetted very well.
Awesome. It's been great having you, Zuka.
Yes.
I am very appreciative that when I reached out, you accepted. I didn't have to really poke and prod you. And that's a testament of you willing to give your learned lessons to everyone. So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, I'm sure, let me see. I haven't even been looking at the comments. I see some 2 snaps from Eva. I think that's what that is. That how you do it? Like 2 snaps like that? But any questions or any thoughts or any feedback? This is the last of this series. There's a lot more to come. By the way, PSA. We are organizing something within the next, it's going to happen very fast within the next 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. Stay tuned. There's a lot of misinformation out there, given the executive orders that our president has put. So there's a lot of fear in the Kenyan community about immigration status. Can I carry 2 passports when I go to Kenya? Should I get dual citizenship? So we're going to put a series together within the next, in March, a 3-part series to discuss all of that. So stay tuned. Just wanted to put that PSA. But anyway, yeah, Susan, do you have a question? I see you're off mute, or anyone else who has a question, or comment.
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to say thank you for the session, and also to say, Cecilia, about when you talked about Peter Thiel, it was quite interesting, because I read the article. I don't know if you all have read the article written by ProPublica about the way he, took basically like $2,000 basically under Roth and agreed to $5 billion to where it can never be taxed. And it is something, what you're saying is very true, that we need to learn more about how to go and navigate that and be able to use that, because that's money you'll never have to worry about ever paying any taxes on. And it grows exponentially because of his investments, in the stock market. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Marcy. Anyone else? Susan, I see you got off mute. I wasn't sure if you had a question. Let's see. I see Caroline here. Eva, of course, I'm going to ask. Huh?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This Google of yours, Miss Dr.
I know.
No, but I wanted to say this is so great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Ichi. Thank you, my friend Cecilia. There are days I used to wish, or we used to read places that says, oh, friends talk about strategy, not people. Yep. And while we are not where we are supposed to be, it's amazing that Dr. Ichi, you've opened on a Friday that people that I know in this group, we're not talking about people, but we're talking about strategy. This is progress. I mean, what else is progress if this is not progress? And so this was a really great session. And Dr. Ichi, you're saying Cecilia you called the Republican, but the Democrat showed up. The wrong person showed up, but I thought this conversation was so great. And Dr. Ichi, you said those strike back. And as I'm listening to you guys, even me, I was wondering, this Wezesha, where are we going? But as I'm analyzing it now, strike back is not at each other. It's not corporate or self-employment, but rather is about evolving, striking back at what we already know. And so I remember the conversations with Shamim. She explored corporate and self-employment that can support each other rather than contradict, so that you don't have to choose sides. But with Zukar, this steps further, how we can strategically use either corporate or self-employment to generate cash flow. That's what I keep hearing from her, the undertone on real estate. And the beauty about where you are going, whether it's intentional or not, with this conversation is that whether we are in corporate or self-employment, the real wealth is in real estate, the preservation of it. Maybe not the making of it. You can make billions doing everything else, but to preserve wealth, it's honestly almost always only real estate.
Yeah.
So thank you for the conversation. And with real estate, we are able to be what did you call it, Zuka? That corporate optional, but I think it can also be entrepreneurship optional. So that we are only in that last quadrant that Dr. Ichu's, the last one, not the other ones, the last one where you invest and chill. And so this was really great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, my friend Susan.
Yeah, Susan said that she by the time we're done with this series, she will have transitioned from CG Zoom or whatever that thing is called. Google Meet.
No. But thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Before because I'll ask Ibawagura to come on. Of course, I'm going to ask Eve Speaks to ask or lend a conversation. In true professor style, I want to make sure people are listening. I might even ask questions. I see your sister is here also. Cynthia.
Yes.
And your hubby is here
Different.
also, right?
Yes, yeah, my hubby's here, so they better
Okay.
prepare.
No, I wouldn't ask them. I wouldn't ask them. But so, Eva Wagura, you've been on a number of these sessions. I'm curious, is there anything that has stood out for you? Maybe something you've learned or something that has validated you? Because Viva is also corporate, corporate Sana, and she's trying to do something. So, Eva.
Hi, everyone. You just had to call me out, but thanks. This was a great conversation. I think Seda said it well, right? When we first started the series, it was about corporate versus entrepreneurs, right? And let me tell you, I was not sure because I'm in corporate, right? But what I've learned and what Nzuka has affirmed is that corporate, if you are trying to find to grow, right? If you're evolving and you're growing, you can leverage corporate to help you with the thing that you're trying to do, right? That when you use, because you do have those skills, you're using those skills at work, you can use them to elevate whatever thing that you're working on, whatever thing that is bringing you joy. And so it's about evolving. It's not about striking back.
I love that. It's about evolving, not striking back. And that has been the theme, honestly. Yeah. I think I've learned so much over these past 4 weeks, but mainly is like Eva said, it's reaffirming some of the things that you had kind of thought in the back of your mind. But I must say, when you said, in talking about like your kids and saying, okay, if you want to be a doctor, how about thinking about owning? That has completely, what you said about you've seen, now you can't unsee.
Yeah.
I've eaten that apple. You are Eve. I'm Adam. You told me to eat the apple. I've eaten it.
Yep.
Now the problem is now I won't sleep because I'll be like, crap. What do I need to do? You know what I mean? Because I remember Jane Mukami telling me years ago, she said, once you're in that thing, then you won't sleep. You never be settled. Your mind never settles down, right?
Yeah.
Susan was trying to do something. Either she's trying to come off mute, show her face, or
No,
say
I'm not really the culprit, but I remember when you guys were talking and you're asking, who do you ask? And I remember seeing a forward sometime last week that was going through the internet that says you're not asking the wrong question, you're asking the wrong people. So as we try to evolve, we're not, because sometimes we want to go back to shrink because you might ask and then people answer back and you don't like it, but it's not that you're asking the wrong question, you're asking the wrong people. And like Cecilia was saying, when you get into some rooms where these questions aren't asked, they'll be like, oh, okay. In other rooms, they'll be like, what? Why?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I wanted.
you're not asking the wrong question, you're asking the wrong people. Hey, Susie, what? Okay.
It's
All
like
right.
coming to ask me, how do I grow a podcast? As much as is well intended, and there's only so much value I can build for you. Yeah. But if you went to a room where people are podcasters and they're really, that's what their intention is, you realize that that's a different room. The questions you're asking, they can get it. You're telling them, I don't even know how to pull my crowd. They know they have the answers. They're figuring out the same. You'll get your answers. So it's true. We ask the wrong questions. We ask the wrong audience the right questions.
Yeah. Good.
And your network grows, right?
Yes.
As soon as you get into that one room and you find that one person, that's it.
And I think that's what, as a people, as now go sort of on a monologue, as a people, as first generation Kenyan immigrants, I feel it's our responsibility to allow ourselves to provide that type of information to people, right? And I think we need to be more intentional with creating those spaces where Eva Agura can come knowing that she'll get something from someone who has experience and can answer that question for her, right? You know, it's amazing that in just, I would say, a year and 5 months since the first time Susan Seda and I and Jean talked or did a session, the amount of people that I've gotten to know who can actually help me with almost all the questions that I have. You know, I have kids. Oh, Eve Speaks is going to be there to help me through that transition. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many of those things. And what I want all of you to think about is, how can we harness our collective knowledge, not just for us here, which I think it's important. We have to start with us here and building those. I won't say, I'll tell you, it's never going to be safe. No, it won't be. That's an ideal world where people can come and open up. I think for a lot of you, quote unquote, like a lot of the women have created those spaces. I don't know how safe they are or how open they are, but they exist. For us guys, we're like, Allah, you know, Joyce is coming to Atlanta, all the way to Atlanta to get inspired, right? How do we create with intentionality those spaces where all of us can grow, right? So rhetorical question on that. But then more importantly, where we can trust one another with the questions. Trust one another with knowing that I can trust Eva to give me the information that's going to help Chelsea go to college. Like, where does that mentality shift have to happen? And I think it has to happen here. And then the next step is to push it to the fellow citizens in Kenya. Like I said, it's been amazing working with Strathmore, with USIU Africa. And the questions they ask are simple. It's like, just give me a story. Because you give them the story and that inspires people in ways that you cannot imagine. So I'm looking at all of you and I'm saying, at some point in time, just the way I reached out to Joyce, to reach out to Nzuka, I'll be reaching out to you guys. I'll be saying, hey, there's someone who needs some information, and I would love for you to be able to bring that expertise. And I'm asking you guys to do the same, because we're in this together, yeah? Eve Kabaya, your hand.
You even call me by my government. Like, okay, doctor.
By the way, what name do you go by? You know me, I only know you by that name. Do you have like another name you go by?
No, well, okay. My first name is longer. It's just Eve is just easier for most people.
Okay.
So I'll leave it at that. But thanks for the session. Zuka, it was really nice listening to you. Like it's not like I haven't listened to you plenty of times, but it's always great, and having input from everybody else, Susan and Eva Gura and all those people. And my question for you, I suppose, would be, besides the tax code being the major factor of investing in state-owned, what do you say are the cons of building in Kenya or doing real estate in Kenya? Or because it was the first question that Dr. Ichi asked when you started, and you're like, okay, don't buy land in Kenya or invest your money in real estate here or stocks here. What is the thought process behind that? I was just curious.
I think that answer is also being given with what would be ideal, knowing what I know now. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not investing in Kenya. We're still, because we've already done that, we're still building in Kenya. But let's say we're building an apartment building. If you had asked me before, and if I had taken that money and invested here, I think there are a little bit more benefits. So, for example, yes, home is home. Home is safe. Home is what we know. But what will I get out of the real estate in Kenya? I'll get cash flow. But what we have to understand is, from a return perspective, it's very, very similar. There is really no big difference if you really get to the bottom of it in terms of return. You're talking about your 10% around there. When you think about you've done a new construction and how you think cost of capital in Kenya is very expensive unless you have cash that you're putting down. Cost of capital becomes very expensive. The dollar versus the shilling. If I was just to compare those two, I'd better earn in dollars than in shillings. So if I was to take the same property and have it here, I would get tax benefits. I would still have cash flow. I would build credibility here. I have access to cheaper capital here, and so you're able to grow here because faster than you would think about it. So if you had a property that is an investment property, and let's say it's worth $1 million, it's giving you some income, you would grow very fast at a less cost here than in Kenya. And Susan can attest to this. We've had this conversation so many times. 4 or 5 years ago, I was on the other side. Susan has always been on this side, and I think she has done amazing. And if Susan, please add to this because you take the crown on this.
If I could figure out how to use Zoom call.
Google Meet, not Zoom.
Dr. Ichi. Now, I think there are benefits. It's not a one all, and I don't represent one other. However, speaking not from a textbook or from something I read, but from something I did. If I am successful by any measure, it's not because of how much money I make, but it's how much money I put in real estate. Because anybody who has been in the business world, we all know, as much as we try to glamorize it, there are days that it does not work. What has kept me and my family is not how much we make, but how much we invested in real estate. I did not read it, I do it, and I live by it. So I can say that. And the biggest thing, and when Zuka, you're talking about learned, the aspects of learned, I think the point here is cash flow. Not the reason why you'd go maybe even for stocks. Someone like Warren Buffett is, of course, rich because of stocks, but because of the dividend from stocks, which are rents from stocks, not the stocks itself. If it's just the stock itself, it's just like land, because it can go up, it can go down. It's the same concept. But he is rich because of the dividends he earns. So for us, what has kept our family stable is the rents that we've been able to earn from making investments. And of course, some days life hits you so hard and you cannot, but I can vouch for it, not from a textbook.
Yep.
But from I live it.
Yeah.
I hope I answered that question.
You did. And I think the reason I even mentioned your name is because I know you're living it, you're doing it. We're friends, we've talked about this. You even did a building in Kenya and I've done one here, and you have a true comparison that you could share and know the true difference. And if it comes to land, we own a lot of land, we've bought a lot of land, but it doesn't give us any cash flow. And what you even realize you only realize any gain once you offload it. And even offloading something is so difficult in Kenya. Yeah. It's not as easy as it looks like. So you could be asset rich, but cash flow poor, and that will not do anything for the things that you want to move. We have a land we've been trying to sell for 2 years. It's got titles, got everything, but moving something is not as easy as we would have thought. So if I had put that money here, buying properties, I think would be in a different, would be operating a little different. And if we can do that and be corporate optional, Susan's business today might not bring money, but she knows she's fine. She's taken care of. Everything else above that now becomes gravy, and I think that's what we're all looking for, because it enables you to be free, even to be creative in so many different ways.
Love it. Right. It's we've been on this for an hour, 51 minutes. I can go on forever. I love having this type of conversations. Any other thoughts? And I'll even allow your sister and your husband to speak if they want to. But any other thoughts, questions, feedback?
I think the rule of thumb with when investment is love the deal, not the property.
Yes.
So if the property is not making you money, willing to walk away from it, but just fall in love with the deal, not the property.
You're right, Joyce.
You know, that's very interesting, Joyce, because now it comes back to the whole cultural element that I continue to think about. Do you think that we are so loyal to a lot of things? We're loyal to our company, we're loyal to our employers, you know, we're loyal to the land that we've bought, and there's a lot of cultural elements of it because of inheritance and taking the land, the land being inherited, the lineage of the land, right? So there's some I would say cultural elements, there's some traditional elements that even right now, Wawa won't hear. Where is Wawa? She can't hear. But Wawa's like, hey, we need to move. I'm like, move. Are you crazy? Like, I'm so emotionally vested in where I am, right? Where does that come from?
I think the best way to lose money is to be emotionally invested. I think you have to be dispassionate, meaning I'm here to provide a service and I need to be paid for my value. If I'm here to invest in something and I need to be paid for my value, and if it doesn't meet the value I expect, be willing to walk away from it. Because again, your value does not depreciate. You're the one who depreciates for yourself because of the emotions.
Susan said, asked me, Ichi, are you loyal to your company? Like, what would you be without working where you work? And I was very upset by that question.
Because you're the Google guy, remember?
Because
I am so sorry. Now I'm taking all this calls. Okay, so we should have used Zoom. That's all I can say.
No, but I mean, I think all of us, and maybe this is where, during New Year resolutions or whatever, right? All of us need to take stock of, I like how you said it, Joyce, right? Like, need to take stock of, okay, what do I want to shed off this year? What's my goal for this year in terms of shedding off? Just like we talk about weight loss, whatever, we need to say, okay, given where I want to be, and I'll always use that, Nzuka, I really like sort of that thing. Where do I want to be? And what Joyce said last week, what does my rich life look like? And asking those questions periodically versus going on cruise control. Because what happens, to your point, we start getting into cruise control and we become very comfortable. And we don't stop to say, okay, I'm going to challenge myself and saying, am I the best that I can be? Or can I transform this thing that I do in corporate as something that becomes my corporation, right? Like I think, we need to create those transitionary periods. And sorry, now I'm going on a tyrant because it really makes sense. Whenever I mentor people, they ask me, how do you know when it's time to move on? And I typically say there's three things that I'll say, but there's more. One is you set a time for yourself, a time block. In a year, I'm going to assess whether I'm happy with where I am or if I'm going to move. You have to set the time block. Two, when you get to a point that you're the smartest person in that room. When you're the smartest person,
You're in the wrong room.
You're in the wrong room, right?
In the wrong room.
Right. And then, excuse me, then three is, literally something transformational could happen. Maybe either you see an opportunity come up and you want to take it, or your manager, something that makes you, it's more reactive, a reactive way to move on, right? But you have to always be ready to have those checkpoints about where you are. And I think that's what I'm hearing you and Joyce and Susie and Eva say, okay, this number of cruising, maybe it should be like corporate stop cruising. You have to take stock of where you are. It's time to move on when your boss does not see a value. That too, right? Because the boss is not seeing a value. But you have to take stock. And I think culturally, I'm not sure that we do that. Even when you're talking about the land, it's very interesting. Your land can be saved for you by your paros. And you're like, why are you keeping it and suffering? But they're so committed to keeping it for you. And I'm not saying that's wrong, right? Because I know the cultural element in it, but it could be better used. My auntie was trying to offload a piece of land to educate her son, but she couldn't. She couldn't. She tried. She's like, I've been saving this piece of land for this situation. But when this situation happened, I can't even use this piece of land. You know what I'm saying? So I just some reflections. Joyce, it's time to move on when your mental health is an effect. Your mind is your most expensive asset. Yes.
We end up overstaying in places because we are really not looking back to say, we're not constantly looking and saying, why did I come into this space? What did I want to get out of this space? And if we're keeping stock of that, you will realize very quick when you're overstaying.
Yeah.
But and the brain is really there to protect you. And so when you're comfortable, the brain is like, oh God. That's why you realize when you have to go into an uncomfortable place or space, you almost have to trick the brain. I don't know if you've had someone like Mel Robinson.
Yeah.
Like even, you've got to trick the brain to get from a comfortable place. The alarm rings. It's very comfortable to snooze it. You almost have to trick the brain. If you read about productivity, procrastination, it's a brain tricking you to stay comfortable instead of, so we almost have always to trick the brain to not be comfortable, to move forward.
It's so funny. You've put it in a way I've never been able to describe. It happens in the morning. I'm like groggy, but I have to hit the gym and I have to trick my brain at that point in time. When we're in I was in Strathmore High School. From Form 1, they trained us. They told us there was this phrase they used, which now, because you've said it, it comes up. It was called the heroic minute. Okay. And they used to say, you guys, you need to be cognizant of the heroic minute. And they explained the heroic minute. The heroic minute is that minute in the morning when you get up and you get up. That's your most heroic minute of the day. You didn't hit the snooze. You didn't turn around. The time came because we were very strict on schedules. We used to create timetables at 5 to 6. We used to be told you have to account for every minute of your life. What are you doing from 5 to 5:15? 5:15 to 5:30. I'm going on my knees. I'm praying. From 5:30 to 5:45. I'm brushing my teeth. And they were creating that discipline. And if I can be honest with you, when there's been times in my life where I just feel like there's so many things happening, I can't get control of all these things, I default to that heroic minute and the timetable. Say, okay, from 5 to 5:30, I'll do this. From 5:30 to 7. And suddenly you find you've tricked your mind. The situations are the same.
Yep.
The 24 hours are still the same. But you are more functional and more productive because you've tricked your brain with whatever tool that you need to use to do so, right?
Yep. And it's like something you mentioned about time management, but really the way you look at it is do a time audit. We are very capable of a lot of things. If we are able to block times for the things that we need and things that we are passionate about, things that we're intentional about, there's a lot of time. And sometimes I default to, there's a year that my husband wasn't around, so I was a single parent, I was pregnant, I was working full-time, and I was going to school full-time.
Wow.
And I'm like, I don't know where that strength came from, but I want that strength back, because you're able to achieve so many things and you cut out what you don't need, you know?
Yeah.
And so if we're able to to time allocate, even like when we say, oh, we don't have time, and definitely we're in different seasons at different times, but whatever season you are in, if it's managing the things that you need, and sometimes you say corporate takes a lot of our time, you're not able to build something else on the side, we can build something. It's just how intentional we are with it.
5 to 8, 5 to 8.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a lot of time. I have a friend who told me something very many years back. We were in Strat together. He's an engineer turned lawyer, and worked for Intel, worked for Microsoft, name it, big corporate. And he would tell me 2 weeks of my month, corporate gets it 100%. The other 2 weeks, I'm building what I want. And he
Minus TikTok.
I know.
Yeah.
And if I look back right now, is an engineer, electrical engineer, came, did patent law, was even going to be a partner at a law firm, and he declined that because it was going to take all of his time, while on the side he had built something that would compensate him at the same level. But he built it over time. Every day after work, he built something. He continued building it. Now he is free, building whatever he wants with the money that surpasses what he was getting as a partner at a law firm. Intel is one of those guys that have had very decent corporate, and he is very comfortable, but now he's able to do exactly what he wants. But he created the time to build whatever he was doing on the side. And when the time came, he's like, no, I don't need that promotion.
Yo, it's 11:03.
Yes.
I'm so grateful, Zuka. And
I
I'm
am.
grateful to all of you who joined today. Grateful to all of you who are going to listen to this recording. It's been great. These 4 sessions that we've had have been more informative than 4 years of undergrad and 2 years of grad school, because these are lived experiences that are being shared. And so I think, in support of the mission of Empowered Through Shared Experiences, I think all of you have come through to be able to share experiences. And in so doing, there's a person here, a person there, a person who's going to watch this recording, read the transcript, who's going to say, this is what I needed today. This is the apple I needed to bite to change my life, to transform my life and my family's life. For those of us who have been content thinking that, life is okay, we're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and massages in this company of ours, even that notion needs to be challenged. So I'm grateful to you, Nzuka, for helping us challenge those notions.
Thank you
Dr.
so
Ichi,
much.
just one last thing
Yeah.
for
Okay.
corporate. And I promise that's my last. The one thing that you guys have over people who are self-employed business owners that I think you should really leverage is the ability to get loans. And I know with time, when you're doing deals, it's not how much you make, it's just how much that property makes. But I wanted to give shout out to all the corporate people and say, while you have it, use it, because when you go into the other side, attaining stuff, especially if you want to do real estate, is a little harder. And that's the one asset that the way the system, even though I might be able to make up a loan payment, the system is set up to look at paychecks, and the system is the system. I just wanted to give that positive and at least with my husband being in corporate, that has really, really helped, that we cannot undermine that.
I love that, Sue. And I think I also love the fact that you're always so open to the fact that it's not a solo journey. And it's almost like if you can have the best of both worlds. If you have someone in corporate and someone who's self-employed, or the hybrid of the two together. So it goes back to that theme of corporate is supporting what you aspire for. And then hopefully at one time you say, corporate, thank you. It's been real. I got what I needed from you. Now I'm creating wealth for my family. So yeah, Susie, definitely acknowledge that. All right. Thank you, everyone. Zuka, I will see you soon. You know, you and I have a conversation that we have to complete. Susie, I know I will see you in our building the business, and Eva as well. I've given you guys homework. You have not responded to your homework. You don't have some very bad students. I give them homework. They
Be nice.
man.
Be nice, eh?
Hadarani.
I know, yeah.
In front of people.
In front of me.
I know. And I love that this conversation we're having among friends, we've grown, we've evolved.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And I'm very grateful, my friends, my family, for showing up for this conversation. I think we're in this journey together. And as we go forward, we're students of this life. We're evolving. We are starting. I speak for my mid-40 and above. We are trying to write our next chapter before we retire, or what that looks like. And so I'm glad we're in this together. We figured out being in this country. We figured out going to corporate and getting good roles. I think now we're figuring out the next chapter. And it's beautiful to know that I have many friends here that we're figuring this together.
You have friends here, and when you go back, I know you're saying you're sort of reassessing, and you're in that place where you're looking for things. When you're ready, come back here. We'll do it on Wezesha. We can even go down to iStudio and do something there, so that we can get more people who can hear about what you're doing next. Cool.
Cool.
All right, everyone.
Thank you so much. Okay,
See ya.
bye. See you.
Bye.